Well, I'm sorry, but look, if you're not working with him anymore, why do you still have to do stuff with him?
Because he's my friend.
Okay, but do you really need another friend?
Simply put, toxic people are everywhere. No matter where life takes you, you will always encounter toxic people. They are inevitable. What can we do about it? And what happens if we realize that the people who are closest to us are toxic? Can we do anything? That is what I will be discussing in this video. Within each section, I will bring up some signs that identify a toxic person, and then offer some advice on a plan of action. However, before I begin, I just want to offer one reminder that the Discord and Destiny clan are officially live for anyone interested. From now on, I will leave links for both down in the description for all of my videos. Now, let's begin our talk on toxic people. For the first section, I will go over some general signs you can look for to see if someone you are interacting with is a toxic person. Quick disclaimer. It must be acknowledged that it is quite challenging to assess someone's character from a limited amount of time with them. However, in my opinion, there are several red flags that you may see early on that might indicate this person is toxic. The first signal is also one of my biggest personal pet peeves in life. People who are overly wrapped up in drama. There is absolutely no way you haven't encountered a person like this in your life so far. They physically cannot prevent themselves from constantly talking about other people's business. Now let me highlight two reasons why I think this is an indicator for toxicity. First, here's a question. If they talk so much about other people to you, then what are the odds that they will discuss your business to those very people? I would say it's very likely. Not to mention that talking about other people too much can also be a sign that this person does not have much of an identity themselves. Another big indicator can be uncovered by following your instincts. How do you feel around this person? Are you calmer and feel like you can be yourself? Or are you on edge, purposely holding parts of yourself back? Even if they aren't your friend, a good person will have a certain energy around them that allows you to be open. On the opposite end, toxic people ooze uncomfortability, and you will feel that uneasiness when interacting with them. Finally, another red flag that highlights toxicity is negativity. Simply put, toxic people are always overly negative. On top of this, there might be an underlying element of hate and resentment that you can see in the way they talk about other people in groups. This might not even be directed at you, but that doesn't change the fact that they are probably a toxic person. Now, I have one simple but effective strategy to avoid these types of people in your life. Avoid them at all costs. If you can tell that someone who you are talking to is toxic, do everything in your power to get out of the situation. The truth is, you aren't going to fix them in that moment. So it's better to just avoid that negativity for your own sake and exit the interaction. But what if you can't avoid these people? What if you realize that the people closest to you are toxic? Let's talk about it. Similar to what I said about the inevitability of encountering toxic people, I believe it is almost a certainty that you will experience a toxic friendship over the course of your life. In this section, I will continue to highlight signals of toxicity, but I would also like to bring up a central theme for a toxic friend: manipulation. All of the points that I will make trace back to this concept of one friend attempting to take an unhealthy amount of control in another person's life. The first alarm that could signify you have a toxic friend is by analyzing the way they react to your accomplishments and successes. Do they admire you and give you praise? Or do they belittle your win, trying to make you think it didn't matter? On the same note, consider this statement. Did you have that success with the help of your friend or in spite of them? Basically, if your friend tries to drag you down every time you take a step up in life, they are toxic. The next indicator for a toxic friend is assessing their perspective of your friendship. Let me explain. As I talked about in my last video, a friendship is a two-way street. What comes with that is mutual trust, loyalty, honesty, and sacrifice. Both people have to understand this in order for a friendship to be healthy. But unfortunately, a toxic friend will likely have a different perspective. They will view the relationship from a selfish lens, with their own needs always coming first. In their head, they are the leader and you are the pawn. The worst part is that they will likely try to force this hierarchy into your head, getting you to believe this is how it should be. The final signal I will bring up is authenticity, or lack thereof. Again, you can probably think of someone in your life who has had this type of behavior. They act a certain way around you, but switch up their entire persona when you two are around other people. There are a few conclusions we can make from looking at someone with this behavior pattern. One, like I said in the beginning, is that they are manipulating and taking advantage of you. To them, your friendship is just a way to receive a feeling of validation and importance. They don't care about you. All they want is the feeling of knowing you value them as a friend. But here's the second takeaway. When they are getting that validation from other people, or feel like there is a better source of it, they don't need you now. This causes them to change the way they act in order to get the most out of that new source. With that said, is there any way to fix a toxic friend's way of thinking? I have two approaches. The first is obviously confrontation. If you realize that your friend is toxic, you need to tell them. There might be the off chance that they don't realize it, or even better, acknowledge their mistakes and vow to improve themselves for your friendship. However, if they don't see your side and continue to see only their view, which is just another sign of manipulation, then it's time to move on. Know your worth. If someone doesn't see your importance, they will once you aren't in their lives anymore. In my opinion, it's better to have no friends at all than to be in a toxic friendship. So if you see that there is no solution, the only course of action is to leave. This final section will cover my thoughts on toxic parents, and I will start by giving a disclaimer. This is a very challenging topic to cover, for many reasons. For one, this is a complex situation that I don't have all the answers to, but I will still do my best to give some well thought out ideas. Also, I'm grateful to say that I don't have any personal experience with this, as I have been blessed with great parents. With that said, let's start again with the central theme: intervening in your path of life in the worst possible ways. The first example that signifies toxicity is literally controlling your life to the point where it is no longer yours. A lot of negative situations come from this toxic behavior. It may appear in small ways, like not allowing you to eat what you want or be friends with certain people. Or it can be on a large scale, where your parents can prevent you from following your dreams and achieving the goals that you set out for yourself. They will have this predetermined path that they created for you, without your input. If you don't follow it, you're not being a good child. I have a theory on where this behavior comes from. I think it traces back to a pessimistic outlook on the future and opportunity. This is purely an assumption, but I believe a lot of toxic parents are secretly very unhappy with how their lives panned out. They probably had dreams of their own, and for whatever reason, they never came true. So now, they don't think your life will be any different, so they force you into a safe and secure box. Another red flag could be the way they make you feel during moments of conflict. Are you always labeled as the problem? Do you feel like a burden on your parents when you make mistakes? Your parents probably mess up just as much as you, but if they make you feel like they are perfect and you are permanently flawed, then they are definitely toxic. There is one final sign that I would like to bring up, which slightly overlaps into the last two. It has to do with an inner voice within us. We all know that negative voice that appears when we are uncomfortable or facing a challenging moment. It might try to put us down and make us quit. If you feel like your parents are the physical representation of that voice, then they are toxic to your life. Fixing a situation with toxic parents is extremely hard. And the truth is that there might not be a way to fix it, but hear me out. First, Apply the same approach as dealing with toxic friends. Confront them. If your parents truly care for your long-term happiness in life, they will accept your perspective and possibly change their ways. If they don't, here is one alternative strategy. Apply this mindset. You don't need their support to achieve your goals. Clearly, they don't have your best interests at heart, and you must accept that they might not understand until the journey is over. It is truly upsetting to not have your parents behind you, but if you want to forge your own path, you might have to make that sacrifice if they are forcing you in the opposite direction. To close out, I want to ask something of everyone watching here, including myself. Look in the mirror. Throughout your life, you must keep checking yourself to make sure you aren't toxic. And the problem is, one sign I never mentioned is that toxic people might try to make you believe that you are toxic when you are not. Be careful and use your own judgment. I believe you can do it. That will conclude this discussion of toxic people in your life and how to deal with them. I hope you found this talk worth your time, and if you have any thoughts or suggestions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments. As always, this has been Dark Horse, and I will see you in the next video.